It's draft day once again, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Today we have my 2019 NFL first round mock draft. I always look forward to the draft. It's one of my favorite events every year. My favorite team, the Vikings, have made the draft pretty fun for a number of years. This year I'm hoping they end up going offensive line to help out Kirk Cousins. But my favorite part about the draft is to see all the chaotic trades and the picks you did not expect, players going higher than anybody would have imagined. This year's draft has some really good defensive talent toward the top, and it might be a rare draft where we don't see a receiver or cornerback taken until the late teens or even the 20s. I mentioned that on Twitter, I think last week, that I really couldn't see that happening, but after going through a mock and trying to find spots for these players, the draft is just not set up for wide receivers and corners to go very early. So with that being said, we'll get into my mock draft. I'm doing this based on the NFL.com predict the pick rules. If you want, there's a link down below in the description. You can go to NFL.com, make your own mock draft, join the group, and see who gets the best score. So I'm trying to get points. You get 100 points for every pick that is in the exact spot. So not the team necessarily, but the pick. And you get 50 points if you're one off, 20 points if you're two off, and 10 points if it's more than 3, but still that player went in the first round. So let's get into it. The Arizona Cardinals have been on the clock, and the story of draft season has been, will they draft Kyler Murray? Cliff Kingsbury said a long time ago that if given the chance, he would select Kyler Murray to be his quarterback, and now it might just happen. Many of those in the draft community who have sources and information still think that Murray is going to Arizona, and I think it's going to happen. I have Kyler Murray going #1 overall to the Cardinals, and that means they have to find a trade partner for Josh Rosen. And maybe we get some more clarity on that pre-draft. Maybe in the hour leading up to, there's actually a trade or at least some talk. Maybe there's a team that says we want Rosen, but we want to see how the first round kind of falls first. I don't know, but I think that Cliff Kingsbury, who wanted to bring Kyler Murray to Texas Tech and failed, would love the chance to see Murray run his offense and to bring the Cardinals from the bottom of the NFL standings. Projecting quarterback trades is tough, and if Murray goes early, there could be a number of teams that want to move up to get the next quarterback that they like, whether it be Dwayne Haskins, Daniel Jones, Drew Lock. I don't think there would be anybody else in that conversation, so I think that you could see someone trade down, but that would require a team being willing to not take one of these elite defensive prospects. So at #2, I don't see San Francisco trading out. I think they take Nick Bosa. They did add Dee Ford, one edge rusher. And one of the latest reports to come out is that they are willing to trade Solomon Thomas, and that to me means they're pretty confident they're going to get Nick Bosa, who is a really good edge rusher. Of course, his brother Joey plays for the Chargers. If Bosa doesn't go #2, I think he goes #1 instead, so this is a good spot to put him here in the mock draft. And then #3, which is where the draft could really begin with the chaos. And I think the Jets will be interested in trading out, but when I look for a trade partner, I'm looking for somebody wanting a quarterback most likely, or maybe it's a team like the Falcons moving up so they can get one of these defensive players. But I have the Jets going with Josh Allen, outside linebacker from Kentucky, one of my favorite players that I had the time to watch pre-draft. He's really talented. I'd compare him to Anthony Barr of the Vikings, the player they already tried to sign, and obviously they missed out there, missed out on a lot of good edge rushers in free agency, so they've got to make something happen. And they could trade down and still get a good rusher, which makes me think that they might, but I just didn't find a trade here that I really liked enough. Next up, it is the Oakland Raiders, one of many teams that have multiple first-round picks, and that makes me think this could be a really interesting draft, because if a team wants to take both of their ones to move up, then what do you do? In the case of the Raiders, they have 3, but 1 in the top 5 and 2 a lot later in the draft. After trading Khalil Mack, they've got to work on rebuilding the defense, and yes, they were a bad defense with Mack, and now they've got to find multiple players to make this defense better. And what better pick to make at number 4 than Quinnen Williams? Maybe the best player in this draft. He's certainly one of the most disruptive, versatile defensive linemen. He's really fun to watch, and I can't wait to see where he ends up because I think he's going to be a Pro Bowler as a rookie. Number 5 is interesting. Could Tampa Bay look to move down? This is quarterback territory here. I didn't find the trade I liked for this spot in my mock draft, but if they do trade down, I could see them trading down a ways so they can go get a cornerback. They could definitely use one. I just don't think that they can go away from defense here playing in that division against those great quarterbacks. I can understand Devin White in this spot. I've seen him mocked here many times, but I'm going in a different direction. I have the Buccaneers taking Ed Oliver, defensive tackle from Houston. I'd see Oliver as the ideal replacement for Gerald McCoy, and there's been some trade rumors about McCoy during this offseason, and if they wanted to trade McCoy, they could have a replacement right here and then look to come back later and work on building up the rest of that defense. They wouldn't get a first-round pick from McCoy. I couldn't see that happening, but I could see a trade working itself out here very soon. Next up, it is the New York Giants. The only thing I'm sure about is that the Giants won't trade up or down. Dave Gettleman just really doesn't do it. But could the Giants look to take a quarterback here? Gettleman's been supportive of Eli Manning all offseason. Yet, I do think they'll take a quarterback at some point, but I don't think it's here. I think that Gettleman really does like Eli and believes he can win with Eli, and they're going defense instead while the value's there. And here's Devin White coming off the board. The Giants could really use a 3-down linebacker with sideline-to-sideline speed that can cover, blitz, and hit. I think Devin White's a really fun player, and the Giants need somebody like him in the middle of their defense. I don't have any trades yet. At number 7, Jacksonville, I have them taking Jawan Taylor, tackle from Florida. It's a really good defensive draft class in terms of the front 7 talent, and then offensive line seems to be pretty strong as well. So the first offensive lineman is off the board. Taylor stays in state. He's a good run blocker. I think the Jaguars will definitely value that. They still want to be a team that runs the football really well. So I think Taylor will be the first offensive lineman taken. At 8, I finally had a trade I was comfortable with. I think that somebody's going to want to move up, but it could be a number of teams from 10 through 15. Not all of them, but I think with Cincinnati, Miami, and Washington, someone's moving up. And I have Washington coming up to number 8. Owner Dan Snyder likes to make the big splashy move, and he makes a trade happen here, and they select Dwayne Haskins, quarterback from Ohio State. I like Haskins a lot. I'm excited to see where he ends up. I'd love for the Giants to take him at 6. That'd be ideal, but I have him going to Washington. It looks like Case Keenum might be their week 1 starter. Obviously, Alex Smith suffered that terrible injury last year. So they're going to want to do something, I think, for the future of their team. And I see them trying to just find the quarterback that they like now and to work toward a future. But there could be a lot of competition for trading up, and maybe Detroit doesn't want to fall down that much. If Cincinnati's interested, I think it'd be really enticing for Detroit to trade down but not fall below Green Bay, who could go defender, which I think the Lions ultimately want. So I have Detroit falling down to 15 in this case, and at number 9, the Bills are on the clock. I think they love for any of those great defensive players to still be available, but with one not, I have them instead going to the offensive side and selecting TJ Hockenson, tight end from Iowa. Hawkinson's a very good blocker. He's a good receiver as well. This could be a pick that upgrades both the running game and the passing game for the Bills. So they go Hockenson. If he doesn't go here, I still think he goes relatively early. That's what everything seems to indicate here in the pre-draft process. So that takes us to 10. And this was a tough one for me because I'm not sure if Denver wants to go quarterback or not. Joe Flacco isn't going to be a long-term solution, but they obviously liked Flacco enough to trade for him. There are more teams that could go quarterback than there are quarterbacks who are likely to end up in the first round. So I have the Denver Broncos passing this time, Drew Lock could be a possibility, but I have Lock falling down a ways in this. I have them instead selecting Devin Bush, linebacker from Michigan. There are some I've seen that like Bush more than Devin White. They're both really athletic 3-down linebackers that have cover skills. And we know how important it is to have linebackers and safeties who have the skills to match up with the athletic tight ends we're seeing throughout the NFL. And of course, if you're going to be in the same division as Kansas City, you better get ready to cover. Next up at 11, the Cincinnati Bengals, a team with a brand new head coach, and maybe that could mean they are on the quarterback market. I like the idea of them trading up for Dwayne Haskins. I'm just not sure if they want to go another year of Andy Dalton, see how it goes. It's hard to project with some of these teams that have veteran quarterbacks. So in this case, I already had Haskins off the board. Cincinnati's here at 11. They could go with Drew Lock if that's the quarterback they prefer. That's the true kind of wild card here. If there's a team that loves a quarterback, then it doesn't really matter the ranking as much. It's more about how do we get this guy because he could be the leader of our franchise for years to come. In this case, I have the Cincinnati Bengals selecting Jonah Williams. He could be a guard, he could be a tackle, but he's one of the top offensive linemen in this class from the University of Alabama. They already signed Bobby Hart to a decent-sized contract, which makes me think they want him to start at right tackle, but there would still be room on this offensive line to add somebody like Williams. Next up at 12, we have a trade. The Houston Texans, I believe, will trade up. Deshaun Watson was sacked 65 times last season, and that cannot happen again. They need to protect Watson, and they trade up here with the Green Bay Packers to select Andre Dillard from Washington State, a tackle I'd love to see the Vikings take, but he is maybe the best pass protector in this class. If the Packers do trade down, they already have a couple first-round picks, and this would give them even more to use this season. So after that, we go to 13, the Miami Dolphins. This could be a team that really wants to get a quarterback. Ryan Fitzpatrick is projected to be the starter. They might be one of those teams that trades up to the bottom of round 1 to get their quarterback. At 13, though, I have them going defense. There's still a lot of good players on the board at this point. Clelin Ferrell comes off the board here from Clemson. Clemson has a lot of good defensive line talent in this class. I see Ferrell as a pretty high floor defensive end, and I like defensive players like him that can play both the run and pass so effectively. And I think for head coach Brian Flores, who came over from the New England Patriots, he'd love to have the chance to develop Ferrell into a franchise defensive end. Next up is the Atlanta Falcons, a team that is rumored to want to move up. Maybe it's for a defensive talent. I didn't find a good trade spot for them in this mock, so at 14 instead, I have them going with Cody Ford. I think they have to prioritize that pass protection for Matt Ryan, and Cody Ford could play either guard or tackle. If he doesn't go here, I could see him as an option for the Vikings a few picks later. But overall, I think Ford goes early given the fact that he's such a dominant run blocker with the athletic upside. If you want to play him at tackle, it looks like he'd be a pretty good player whether you find a home for him inside or out. Now at 15, we have the Detroit Lions after trading down from 8 in the Dwayne Haskins trade, and they can still address defense at this spot. I think that Detroit, whether they stay at 8 or they trade down, they can still address defense. I think they will this year. I have them going with Rashawn Gary from Michigan. Getting Trey Flowers was a good start to this offseason for the Lions. I'm not sure if they would give the biggest contract plus spend their highest pick on defensive linemen, but I think that with the value here on the board at this stage, it's hard to not go defense and to work on making that defensive line a true strength. And they have lost Ezekiel Ansah, who is still a free agent. Gary's athleticism is really special, and I could see them making this pick because if they're right and Matt Patricia and that staff can develop him, then they're going to have a chance to have a great defensive line, one of the best in the NFL. Trey Flowers is there now. They traded for Snacks Harrison during last season to help out the run defense. I also don't see this Lions defense as being like that far away from being pretty good, so I think they should build it up, and I could see them coming back later on to go get either a wide receiver or a tight end. After the Lions, we move on to number 16. The Carolina Panthers are on the clock, and I have them selecting Brian Burns, more edge rush talent off the board. It's a run on edge rushers because there are so many good ones. The Panthers have seen Julius Peppers and Charles Johnson retire recently, and I think they'd love it if Clelin Ferrell was here. I think he'd be a really good replacement for someone like Charles Johnson, but they can still get a good edge rusher, and you need to in that division. So Brian Burns offers tremendous athletic upside. He's an explosive speed rusher, and the Panthers need some pass rush help. I can't see them not going pass rusher with their first pick, and there should be multiple options when they're on the clock. Next is the second pick of the first round for the New York Giants. And this is where I do think they'll select a quarterback for the future. I have them taking Daniel Jones. And I know many Giants fans won't like that. There seems to be a lot of differing opinions on Daniel Jones. Either you like him a lot and he's a top 10 option, or you don't like him at all. I'm not really a big Daniel Jones fan. I like Drew Lock more as a quarterback prospect. But it looks like the Giants could be in the market for Daniel Jones, and I think here at 17, with him still available, Dave Gettleman finally gets a quarterback. Whether it's the right one, we'll see. Next at 18, my favorite team, the Minnesota Vikings, and I cannot see them taking anything but an offensive lineman. 2 out of the last 3 years have had significant offensive line issues for the Vikings, and they can't afford to wait around any longer. Especially because if they miss the playoffs again, who knows, there might be a front office shakeup in Minnesota. So I have them taking Garrett Bradbury, who has been the common player mocked to the Vikings lately. I think they could consider tackle, but if they have the option between maybe their 4th favorite tackle, but their top interior guy, Bradbury, then I think they'd go Bradbury because they're going to move somebody to a new position anyway. Pat Elflein played some guard at Ohio State. I believe he played more guard than center there anyway. So they could sell this as upgrading 2 picks with 1, and they can end up getting a center for the future and hopefully work towards solidifying the offensive line. I do think, though, that with their 2nd or 3rd selection, they'll take a tackle to eventually replace Riley Reiff. Next at 19, I could see the Titans going in a variety of ways. They could go wide receiver. There still hasn't been one taken in my mock, and part of me thinks that somebody could trade up into the teens or something because they want DK Metcalf or Hollywood Brown. I don't know. It just doesn't seem right to have cornerbacks and receivers not going until the 20s, but I have Tennessee going defensive line, Christian Wilkins. I just felt like the value was too much to pass up on. Wilkins is one of my favorite defensive linemen in this class. I'd love to see him paired up in the middle of that line with Jarrell Casey. That could be really disruptive. Next up at 20, the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they're going cornerback again this year, and it seems that there are a lot of corners in this range, but it's kind of hard to separate them. But the player that's been mocked to them quite a bit, and I know the Steelers want a physical tackling corner. I have the Steelers taking Rock Ya-Sin from Temple. There's been a lot of talk lately linking the Steelers to Rock Ya-Sin, and I think with every cornerback on the board, if he's their favorite, then you take him right here and work on this weakness. Next up, the Seattle Seahawks are on the clock, working on rebuilding this defense. They traded Frank Clark to Kansas City for a 1st-round pick, and they definitely have a need now at defensive end, and I have them taking the athletic Montez Sweat. It's hard to say if he'll still be available at this point, but there's probably going to be an edge rusher or two that falls a bit further than everyone's thinking. At the Combine, Sweat was diagnosed with a heart condition, and today there are new reports that he was possibly misdiagnosed, and hopefully there is no heart condition. Sweat is 6'6", 260 pounds, and he ran a blazing fast 4.41 140 at the Combine. It looks like his athletic profile will be pretty similar to Vikings defensive end Danielle Hunter. With the kind of upside that Sweat has, I could see him definitely going earlier in the draft, but I can't have him falling any further than 21. That'll take us to 22. And the Baltimore Ravens, who have a major need at wide receiver, and this is where the first receiver comes off the board, DK Metcalf from Ole Miss. Metcalf is a vertical receiver, and if anybody won the combine, it was him. Height, weight, speed. Now, he might not have the best agility and might not be the best route runner, but receivers who can dominate down the field, make the tough catches, separate with their speed, they have a lot of value. And the Ravens really need to find some receiving targets for Lamar Jackson as he enters year number 2. Now at 23, because of the trade I had earlier, the Packers are on the clock, and I have them going safety Jonathan Abram. They've worked a lot this year on the defense, adding edge rushers Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith, and then adding Adrian Amos. This Packers defense should be a lot better than they've been the last few years, and Jonathan Abram would help complete things a little bit. They have Amos who can play that high safety role, and then Abram can play the strong safety role. I think he brings that physicality Green Bay's defense needs, and I see them being a lot better defensively this coming season. After this, we have the Raiders back on the clock. It's their second of 3 first-round selections. I still think they have to go defense. I think maybe one of these picks could be offense. I wonder if they consider quarterback. But I have them going with Byron Murphy at 24. And this feels like it's maybe a bit too late. But given he's still available, the Raiders got to take him here. He's my favorite cornerback in this class. He's a little inexperienced, but he has tremendous ball skills. And that's the top thing I like to look for at defensive back. I want to see players that can get turnovers and make plays. It's not just enough to be good in coverage with how much teams throw and how much scoring there is. You've got to take away the football. Next up, it's Philadelphia, and I think they would be really excited if Hollywood Brown was available. He is the selection, Marquise Brown from Oklahoma. He had 2 great years playing with Baker Mayfield and then Kyler Murray. He is a deep threat, and he's drawn a lot of comparisons to Deshaun Jackson. Well, how about putting both of them on the same field at the same time while you have someone like Zach Ertz to stretch the middle of the field and put stress on the linebackers? I don't think they can pass this opportunity up. Marquise Brown's a very talented wide receiver, and I think with them wanting to trade Nelson Agholor, it probably means they're going to be going receiver fairly early in this draft. And there are some other ones I like in this range. I could totally understand somebody like A.J. Brown coming off the board in this spot. I like A.J. Brown a lot, but I have them taking Hollywood, and that would make that offense really dynamic. Next up, it's the Indianapolis Colts at 26. And this is where I start to think maybe teams are trading up for that quarterback they're looking for. But I have them selecting Jeffrey Simmons. The Colts defense got a lot better last season. They had a really good 2018 draft. And I think there's still room for them to upgrade the defense a little more. I was tempted to go wide receiver here, but given I think that the second and third rounds for receiver are pretty deep, I feel the value still favors defense at this point. And with them getting Justin Houston this offseason and then possibly adding Jeffrey Simmons, this defense that was really improved last year could get even better. Next, it's the 3rd first-round pick for the Oakland Raiders. I'm not sure if they're going quarterback. I don't have them taking one in this draft, but it's definitely possible. I have them at 27 taking Josh Jacobs. The first running back comes off the board from Alabama. Jacobs is a really aggressive runner. I like his style. I think they need somebody aggressive and physical to replace Marshawn Lynch, who just retired. And I think that with all the talk about Josh Jacobs going to Oakland and the 3 first-round picks, I think it's one of the more obvious ones, but maybe it ends up being too obvious. That takes us to 28 and the LA Chargers, who finally broke out last season. It only took a few years of predicting it for it to finally happen. And they could use another corner, and there are still some good ones available. I don't want to have Greedy Williams fall anymore. I'm really interested in where Greedy ends up because he has the height and athleticism that typically makes you the first cornerback off the board. It could still happen, but it has to be the right fit. I'm not sure if this is the ideal fit for the Chargers, but with a need at corner and somebody with the skills and athletic traits that Williams has, I think it would be very difficult to pass up. And I do ultimately think their first pick will be a corner, especially playing in that division against Patrick Mahomes, and now Antonio Brown is on the Raiders. Next up, it's Seattle on the clock, and I had them go Montez Sweat with their first selection. I have them going offense this time with tight end Noah Fant. Fant is a speedy vertical threat option at the tight end position. Iowa will likely have 2 first-round tight ends selected tonight, which sounds like something out of Madden, but no, they had really good tight end play. The Seahawks could also go for a wide receiver at this spot, but with Fant available, I think it's an amazing value, and the need is certainly there for the Seahawks. That takes us to Green Bay and their second first-round pick. There's been a lot of talk about Drew Lock going in this spot. There's the comparison when Brett Favre was 35, they drafted Aaron Rodgers. Now Rodgers is 35. Do they look for his successor? I am not buying it. I don't think they will. Instead, I have them going with offensive tackle Dalton Risner. Maybe they could consider moving Brian Bulaga to guard. I've seen that suggested. But overall here, I think offensive line is not a bad choice. They've usually had a really good offensive line, and they continue to invest in it here to preserve the future of the offense. Next at 31, I have the LA Rams also going with an offensive lineman, Chris Lindstrom. The Rams have revamped their offense over the last couple of years, and the first thing they really did was upgraded the offensive line. They lost John Sullivan, their starting center, in the offseason, and I don't think they'll waste much time in finding his replacement. I wouldn't anyway. They've obviously seen what it's like to have a bad offensive line, and now they know what it's like to have a very good one that allows you to be a run-first offense that throws very well off of it. So I think they fill that need pretty quickly. That takes us to number 32, and this could be the spot right here for Drew Lock, and he is off the board. The Patriots are on the clock in this case, but it could be anybody looking to trade up for that last selection that guarantees you that 5th round option that everybody's looking for. I do like Drew Lock. Not sure if he's going to be a franchise quarterback, but he has good arm talent. He played well in the games that I've seen of his. And I'm assuming there's at least one team out there that, if he's still available, will trade up, or maybe the Patriots spend their pick on a quarterback, but I'm not convinced that they will. So that brings us to the end of my first round NFL mock draft for 2019. We'll see if this one goes any better than my past mock drafts that haven't been very good. But it's fun to consider all the scenarios and the possibilities of who might fall if certain players are taken, or the run on different position groups that tends to happen. I love the draft, mostly because it's unpredictable and chaotic, and I'm hoping for an entertaining night tonight. Thank you all for watching the video, or listening to it rather. Please leave a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel, and comment below any thoughts you have on the draft tonight, especially your bold predictions. I want to see some of those. Have a great day, everybody, and I'll see you all again soon.